Does circumcision cause erectile dysfunction? 2 years ago, I asked myself this exact question. Most people will instantly brush it aside, but actually it is very reasonable to ask. Circumcision removes a lot of super sensitive tissue from the penis and permanently changes its structure. That is a fact. So the logical follow-up question is, does circumcision lead to sexual complications? Because I am circumcised and I had major issues with erectile dysfunction, I've done a lot of research on this topic. And because I overcame my issues with ED, I am uniquely qualified to comment on this topic. So stay tuned to find out what questions you should ask yourself to determine if and how circumcision is responsible for your ED, and how you can overcome these problems. But before we talk about how circumcision may cause your erectile dysfunction, we must first establish something else. Because right here, I have a very controversial and counter-mainstream take. Why is circumcision such a terrible idea in the first place? To answer this question, let's start off with what the foreskin is not. It is not useless tissue to be removed right after birth. In fact, it's actually incredibly sensitive and highly functional. The foreskin is one of the most sensitive parts of the male body, packed with tons of nerve endings. These nerve endings play a crucial role in sexual pleasure and feeling. Removing the foreskin through circumcision permanently takes away much of this natural sensitivity. Over time, the head of the penis, when exposed, becomes drier and less sensitive. This leads to reduced sexual sensation. Additionally, the foreskin helps with lubrication, making sexual activities smoother and more comfortable. And this makes sense intuitively. We all know that cut men often need to use lube. Again, this is because they don't have the foreskin that helps with lubrication. Before you interject, obviously, you can be circumcised and still have a great sex life. While I bet you money that most cut men are much more desensitized, the vast majority of them still go through their lives without issues. They have girlfriends, get married, and have children, and so forth. So my argument is not that circumcision invariably leads to erectile dysfunction. Instead, I argue the following. Number 1. Circumcision can in some men cause ED or greatly contribute to ED. Number 2. The detrimental effects of circumcision can be alleviated by a more conscious understanding of it. And number 3, the foreskin can entirely be restored. So now that we understand how harmful circumcision is, what are some questions you can ask yourself to figure out if circumcision is causing your ED? Now, before we get to this, by the way guys, if you want to learn more about the detrimental effects of circumcision and how you can reclaim your foreskin, subscribe to my channel and check out my website in the description below. There's a lot of free info that you'll enjoy. But without further ado, let's get back to the video. Okay, so you struggle with erectile dysfunction. What happens when you jerk off? Sounds like a stupid question, but it's important to ask. Do you get horny when you're alone? Do you have difficulties maintaining an erection when you're by yourself without anyone around? The reason you should ask yourself this is that sexual problems are often of psychological nature. Some people might have certain dietary deficiencies or hormonal problems. In such cases, circumcision is clearly not the issue. When I struggled with losing my boner 2 years ago, I had to ask myself this question, and my answer was a resounding no. Masturbation for me was quite normal. I didn't lose my boners, and I could easily climax by myself. This gave me a critical insight. I did not have any health issues, so it had to be psychological or something else. If the answer is different for you, you should probably stop watching this video and go to a doctor. If you struggle with a chronically low libido or aren't able to maintain your boners even when you're alone, it's most likely a medical issue. Now that we eliminated any probable health concerns, let's ask a follow-up question. When you're with your partner, at what point do you lose your boner? Does it never go up in the first place? Do you lose it when you get started? Or do you get ED only when you're in the process of having sex? If you never get a boner in the first place, when you're with a chick, or you lose it early in the process, then most likely you're just nervous or self-conscious. Most cases ED are caused by such psychological issues. People are tense when they're with a new partner for the first time. Essentially, our minds play a bigger role than people think. However, my cases of erectile dysfunction were substantially different. If I'd meet a girl at a club or go out on a date with a chick, I'd usually be very horny and aroused. I would have boners while out on the date and making out. For me, the problem was quite different. I typically lost my erections in the process of oral or vaginal sex. Why? As dumb as it sounds, but sex was just super underwhelming. I just didn't feel much, and that lack of sensation and stimulation led to my ED. This is an important point you must identify for yourself. Are you just super nervous when you're with a new partner? Then, most likely your issues are psychological. However, if you lose your erections because of desensitization, because you don't feel much when you're having sex, then circumcision might really be the cause. Let's not forget, circumcision takes away super sensitive tissue. It exposes your dick, leading to steady numbing. My issues were clearly caused by a numbness resulting from my circumcision. Now, as a final question, let's ask something that sounds super harsh. When you're erect, does the skin ever feel uncomfortably tight or even painful? Sounds crazy, but it's a known problem that some men with extremely tight cuts suffer from painful erections. This happens when the dick doesn't have enough loose skin left, causing tightness and discomfort. It's truly horrible to imagine, but this is really the case for some men. If you suffer from painful erections, understand that circumcision may be the culprit. As a disclaimer, I never had this issue personally. Also understand that uncomfortable boners can be caused by an array of things. Nonetheless, if you are cut, and often have unpleasant erections that lead to ED, it's worth going to a doctor. Alternatively, you should look into reversing your circumcision, which gets us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this content, please let me know in the comments. I'm creating this content because I used to have a lot of problems with erectile dysfunction when I was younger. Part of this was caused by circumcision. If you want to learn more about the detrimental effects of circumcision and the wonderful benefits of restoring your foreskin, check out my website and subscribe to the channel. Peace out, and I'll see you guys next time.